I'm Ralph Brand. I'm the chair of Empire Multi-District President-Elect Learning Seminar. We're jumping the gun a little bit on RI. It hasn't officially been changed from training to learning, but we're jumping the gun and doing that. With us tonight is CNY President-Elect Bob, and Bob is going to introduce our speakers.
Thanks, Ralph. I think before I introduce our speakers, I want to just say thank you to Ralph. Ralph has been doing a great job. He's chair of this PELS, Pets, soon to be PELS, multi-district PELS event. He's doing a great job. We are a herd of cats, and I'm probably the mangiest and most rogue one of those cats. And he's done a great job of keeping me in line and helping usher this and keep kind of moving us forward. So welcome to our third pre-PELS session. It's going to be led tonight. That's public image. That's led by President Lizzie Martin. And if you're a 7180 person, I don't think Lizzie really needs much introduction. She's very well known, and she is just a fantastic leader and has a lot of experience in marketing, branding, and public image, and keeps an eye on all that stuff for us as a side hobby to being president of the district. And we have our newly incoming public image committee chairperson, Joe Abraham. Joe's been doing a great job, really helped me out and thinking about strategic communications. And he's got a background as a newspaper editor and doing some graduate work now, and really excited to have him work with us tonight. So without further ado, Lizzie and Joe, take away and teach us all we need to know about public image.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that lovely introduction. It's great to see everyone tonight. Thank you for being here. Just want to make sure this is going to come through for you all. Can you all see that?
You're good.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So yeah, tonight we're talking with you about Rotary's public image, specifically focusing on branding and visibility for your clubs. And as Bob introduced, it's myself and Joe. Welcome to the crew, Joe. This is your first pre-PELS. How are you feeling?
Oh, incredibly nervous. This is such a tough crowd here, and no, it's great. I love meeting people, so I'm excited, and we'll be in Syracuse as well on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to further conversations with everyone even after the meeting.
Thanks, Joe. So here's our agenda. I'm going to cover our brand and some of the resources that you have available to you in our brand center. Joe's going to walk you through how you can stand a better chance at getting featured in local media. And I asked Joe to help talk about that because he used to work at the newspaper down in Liberty in the downstate region where he used to live. So he's really an expert. And then we'll go through some goals to consider setting for your clubs for the coming Rotary year. Rotary's brand is something we talk about a lot because it's really incumbent on all of our volunteers and clubs who are the heart of Rotary, the people out on the street, the people that someone will interact with if they interact with Rotary. It's incumbent on all of us to understand what the brand is all about, even if you're not a marketer or in that space. And so I want to hopefully make it easy for everyone to understand, even if you don't have that marketer mind. But a brand is essentially consistency in how you present yourself through typically a logo, the colors you use, the fonts you use, the voice you use, the way you talk about your organization. And you want it to send a kind of instant visual message to someone that they'll understand exactly who you are and what you stand for. And in order to do that, all of our clubs have to be on the same page to get that consistency element. And if the more we can do that, the more we can create awareness and understanding about who Rotary is. So that when people see that sign coming into their communities, they know exactly what that logo means, or they know exactly how to find us online. And the more we can brand ourselves, it just helps us helps us establish a future for our organization. We have a couple of logos, so that sometimes creates confusion. Hopefully we can clarify that here. This is our mark of excellence. We all commonly call this the wheel. You might not know it, but it does come in 4 colors: yellow, blue, black, and white. And the important thing to know about the mark of excellence, which used to be our only logo, is this is kind of our older logo. It's not the one we prefer you to use, mainly because it often gets used in a format where it's so small you can't read the lettering inside. So if you are going to use this, make sure that it's large enough that you can read Rotary International inside of it, just like I have it displayed here for you. The reason that we don't use this one as our primary logo anymore is our marketing research showed that people seeing this wheel did not associate it with Rotary and didn't know what Rotary meant anyway. So we have now our master brand logo, where they took the word Rotary out and put it next to the wheel. And this is the logo that we really should use in everything that we're doing. This is the preferred logo, the master brand logo. Comes in several different color combos, that same black, white, blue, and yellow. You can get a few different versions. And this one can be used even in small settings because we have the simplified wheel. So you can see the difference between the two. We've got the regular yellow wheel here with the wording inside, and then the simplified version on this black logo where there's no lettering inside. It just gives it a little bit cleaner look. Looks great on digital formats. It looks really good if you're getting something embroidered, and keeps it nice and clean. But because it's paired with the word Rotary right next to it, that's what makes it a good visual communication as to whose logo it is. The other thing about the master brand is it can be customized. So you can see some examples right here with Baldwinsville and Oswego. And I'll walk you through a little bit more about that when we talk about the brand center. When you're making a logo in the brand center, there's a couple ways you can do it too, right? We all refer to our clubs maybe a little differently. Some are more formal, some are less. So some say the word club, some don't. Here's examples of a couple of different combos you could do on the screen. So Chittenango Rotary Club is how that would read. Rotary Club of Owego, Stamford Rotary. So those are all perfectly acceptable. You're incorporating Rotary into your club's name with the Rotary that appears in the logo. So you don't want to add the word Rotary in addition to the big blue one. It again comes in all those different color combos we talked about. So when you make this for your club, you can download whatever color combination you're looking for. Obviously, we prefer the blue and gold. That's our full color logo. But sometimes when you're putting it on a different color background or on a picture, you need a different color. That's why they offer it in the others. If you've never made your logo before in the Brand Center, which is at brandcenter.rotary.org, there's a really helpful link in the upper right-hand part of the website where it says Help and FAQs. And in there are how-to videos, and they'll walk you through the tool that you use to make your logo to show you how to do it. So if you're not so comfortable on computers and that's helpful to you, please go watch that first. Don't get frustrated. Don't try to stress about it because the video will really help. Again, as I said, we only want to use the wheel, the mark of excellence, when it's nice and big and you can read the letters inside, and the master brand is our go-to. Now, there's a lot of crimes that happen when it comes to the logo. And luckily for us, there's no Rotary police, but unlucky for you, there's me. And I will definitely call someone out for an inappropriate logo and help them to get the appropriate logo. So let's play a little game. I want everyone to pull up the chat. And Joe, if you could watch the chat for me, because I can't see it as well when I'm doing the display here. But we're going to play a little game of, is this acceptable branding or not? Are you ready? So you can say yes or no in the chat. Yes, this is approved by RI, or no, it is not. Ready? What do you think? Yes, no, maybe? Depending on how big it is on the sign. What are they saying, Joe?
My statistical breakdown is about 89% no, about 10% maybe.
Okay, thank you, everyone. You did a
Yeah,
great
that's
job
not
on
what
your
I'm
very
seeing.
first one. We cannot ever incorporate the Rotary logo, whether it's master brand or mark of excellence, into another shape or word or piece of art. It should always stand on its own. And I'm going to give you some examples of how you could do something that still looks really nice for your 100-year anniversary, because a club that hits 100 years is an awesome thing and you want it to be a beautiful presentation, but you don't want to manipulate our logo to achieve that. All right, here's another one. Get your chat ready. Oh, sorry, I went the wrong direction. Is that one good to use or no? Thoughts? How's it looking, Joe?
We've got about a 50-50
The
split.
mix?
Yeah.
I knew this one would throw folks because a lot of people, when I say it comes in yellow, blue, black, and white, a lot of people have never seen the blue version. This is a legitimate, right out of the brand center, mark of excellence logo, the wheel. It comes in this nice color of blue called Azure, and you can absolutely use this color. So this one is a good one. Here's our next one. Get your guesses in. What do we think of this pink one? I didn't say anything about pink yet. How are the guesses, Joe?
I would say we're close to a 50-50 split there as well.
A mix again?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't get into it too much because I don't know how many Rotaractors are present, but I would love a one-on-one with a Rotaractor if they need help with their public image. But Rotaract logos are pink. Surprise. So that helps them stand out a little bit. Interact logos are the light blue color that I'll be showing you in a little bit. So they have their own color scheme over there, which are accent colors in our color family. And I'll show you our full color family in just a few minutes. So that is a legitimate logo downloaded from the brand center. Rotaractors are pink. How about this one? You got Easter egg hunt. You doing some pancakes for Easter. You selling some tulips. I don't know what you got going on for Easter, but you make a nice little purple logo like this. What do you think? How many said no, Joe?
I would say 100%.
Okay, good. We're getting somewhere. So yeah, no, we manipulated the color of the logo. That is not okay. Black, white, blue, yellow. That's it. So no pastels in our logo. And certainly you can't add bunny ears to the wheel. Definitely not. All right, one more. How about that one? Can you use that one? Are the results in, Joe?
I'd say we got about 63% saying no, maybe 37, 35, somewhere in there saying yes.
Okay. All right. So this one does get used a fair amount, but it is never appropriate to use the simplified wheel without the word Rotary next to it. The only reason we took the lettering out of the wheel, the middle of the wheel, is because we're putting it next to it. So when you take it away completely, then you're really losing the value of our logo and the importance of communicating our brand of Rotary. So never ever use this simplified logo without the word Rotary, okay? Thank you, everybody. That was a fun game. I think you all did pretty well. Here's some examples of things that you can do that would accomplish the same thing. So here's how you can do a graphic to celebrate an Easter event. Here's how you can make a nice looking graphic for a 100-year charter night. And then of course, if you're using that simplified wheel, here's what your logo might look like. So there's ways to make it nice. Because trust me, I like to make it nice. I love doing graphic design. I want things to be visually appealing. And I understand the temptation to do that 100 with the wheels for zeros. I get it. But when it comes to branding, we just really want to protect that Rotary copyrighted brand. Now, again, I said it's confusing. We have lots of logos. You may recognize some of these from over the years. Our theme logos. We're currently in the Magic of Rotary theme year. And they did tell me at IA last year this would be the last theme. So now moving forward, there's no theme, but there is a president's message. And incoming RA President Mario's message is Unite for Good. So you'll see this messaging around, this is in a Rotary font that I'll also share with you the fonts in a little bit here. It's just a phrase that's supposed to inspire us, much like the theme was supposed to do. These messages are really member facing, not public facing. So these aren't things, you know, you should really, all these years, you really shouldn't have been putting the theme logo on your Facebook page for prospective members to see, but you put it in your Charter Night program for your members to see, that kind of difference. All right, I said I would share with you our Rotary Color family. All of these resources I'm sharing with you are available in the Brand Center. You can see the instructions at the bottom, and of course, we'll post these slides to the website following the presentation tonight. But those are the directions on how you can get to see these colors and see the color codes so you use the exact right color. So again, if you're not a marketer, if you're not a graphic designer, if you're not in the custom apparel business, you don't necessarily know, but when we say sky blue, we mean a very specific shade of sky blue, not just anything that kind of looks like the color of the sky. So the colors that are seen here are really easy to set up as a color palette, say in Canva, if that's a tool that you're using to design things for your club, and can make your life easy to make things look really nice for Rotary. Our primary colors are Rotary Gold and Azure, as well as Rotary Blue and Sky Blue. And then these are our accent colors down here. You can see cranberry, that's the Rotaract color. And the sky blue is the Interact color. Actually, I didn't show it to you, but that's the color for Interact. If you have any questions on these things as we're going, make sure you put them in the chat. We'll be happy to tackle them at the end. In addition to some preset colors, we also have specific fonts that are within our brand that help us kind of look the same in our presentation. And you can see all the different, these are not all of them, these are just kind of the main ones that might be easier for you to find. But at the bottom, again, I have instructions on where to find this in the Brand Center. So our main Rotary font is called Frutiger. That one is not free. That one you have to purchase. And you purchase a font and then you upload it to your Microsoft Word or PowerPoint and you can use it in there. But Open Sans and Georgia is a secondary font. Those are generally pretty widely available fonts that you can use, and then you'll look really good in everything that you do. And you can see they come in a bunch of different weights, so you can really kind of change it up. I literally only use these fonts when I make Rotary anything, a graphic, a newsletter, the slideshow. I do not stray from these fonts as much as possible. The last part I'll talk about when it comes to our brand is our voice. And this is something that I think people tend to forget. They just think of the visual, which is the biggest part. But how we talk about Rotary does matter. The voice that we're supposed to use, according to Rotary's brand guide, is clear, persuasive, and reliable. Oops, I drew on the screen, sorry. It's also personal and sincere. And that's a really important part, right? If we're talking about following the 4-way test and building goodwill and better friendships, setting that tone and how we communicate is going to help us with that. Another thing I like to remind people whenever I have the chance is we are not the Rotary. You are not in the Rotary. You are in Rotary. There's no the there. You might be in the Rotary Club or at the Rotary meeting or working on the Rotary service project, but you are in Rotary. When you say the Rotary, much like the Ohio State University, it gives a very exclusive air to it. And that's not what we want. We want to be inclusive and welcoming and make people feel like it's something they can be a part of. So make sure, it happens a lot. It happens a lot with non-members when I speak to people in the press. When I speak to members in the community who are inquiring about Rotary, they say the Rotary. So try to dissuade that and make sure you're removing it from your lexicon. And it says it right in the branding guide. You know, making sure that we all say the same name is a simple but critical step to strengthening our message and strengthening our brand. I've mentioned it several times now, brandcenter.rotary.org. That's where you can go to download images, videos, the logos, make that custom club logo. Every club should make their logo. So if you're going to be at PELS in Syracuse, go to the tech lab. There'll be help there if you need it. Take that time to go in and download every color version of your club's logo so you have it on file, and then share that with all of your members. You never know who's going to need to use the logo or want to use the logo, maybe in their own social media, things like that. So it'll help everyone look the same and really focus in on that branding if you share it out with everyone. In the Brand Center, you can also design a brochure, and they have kind of a preset template you can work within. And it just really helps make sure that you're following all of these rules and tips that we've talked about. The last part, using the images from the Brand Center, you're allowed to use those. Doing a Google search and just using any image that comes up is very risky. In fact, 40% of all of Rotary's insurance claims, that insurance policy we pay for in our dues every year, is to pay for lawsuits for clubs and members who are sued for using images without permission, copyright infringement. So you could be adding to our dues costs by driving up our insurance rate if you are caught doing that. So anytime you put an image on your club's website, social pages, in your newsletter, something that's posted on the internet, you need to know you have permission to use those images. So if you didn't take it yourself, if a member of your club didn't take it, go to the Brand Center and you can find an image that's safe to use. If you subscribe to a service like Canva, you have images in there that you can use. But outside of that, please do not Google a generic picture of a plate of pancakes and just use it like it's yours, because it's not. That's kind of a new concept for a lot of people. And unfortunately, I don't want anyone to learn the hard way. And here's, again, all the different logos and the formats that you can do them in. Joe, can I take this line off? Can I erase this line before I move forward with you so you don't have this ugly blue line on here?
I mean, I think it really, I don't know how to do it from,
I don't either. How to get there?
but you know, it offers character, right? To this.
All right, so the last thing I have that's available to you in the Brand Center, I like to show these off because they're fairly new, only a couple years old, and I know it takes us some time to know these things are happening, but there's these really beautiful areas of focus logos available in the Brand Center for you to download. You can download them in these two formats, all together in a tall column, in a circle, or each individually, and you can do it with or without the words underneath. These are great if you're promoting something your club's doing that falls under one of these areas of focus. I just think they're really beautiful, nice and colorful. Obviously, the color kind of ties into the topic too, so it's just very visually appealing. You might have an old version that we all had to get off Google because they never offered this before. So please know that the areas of focus have new logos and they're available to you in the Brand Center. All right, I'm turning it over to you, Joe.
Hey, so hi everyone. I will say before I get started, just because I haven't quite reached Lizzie's Rotary celebrity status yet, for those that don't know a little bit about my story, I was a newspaper editor for about 8-ish years. Majority of them were in the Catskills. I was at a twice weekly newspaper. About 2 years ago, as some journalists would say, I went to the dark side, which is by that I mean I got a job in public relations. I now work at SUNY Poly in Utica. For those of you in different parts of the state, you might have known it as SUNY IT, which was the name of it for many years before 2014. I'm currently went back to school, online student at Oswego for strategic communication. So while today my big focus will be visibility and getting you kind of in the media, just know that I also have some background with internal communications and that, which is also very important with clubs, and that'll be maybe a topic for another day. So as far as visibility, we kind of just wanted to start with why it matters, and similar to like public image and the investment in that as a whole, but then also with trying to get yourself in local like media is visibility. It's all about it touches everything that we do, right? You want to get members, new members. You want to try to shed a light on all the stuff, the service projects and the impact that you have in your community. So that's why it's obviously very crucial that we kind of try to see if you can get media coverage to try to spread the word about our impact. And developing relationships is important, which I believe is the next slide. Yes, so building relationships. I always think that it's very important to find connection to your local media outlets. So you don't have to answer this in the chat, but think about your club and whether you have a public image chair or you don't. Um, do you have a media list? Have you recently did a kind of I don't know if audit's the right word, or kind of checked out like who are the local media outlets in my community? Do you have an easily accessible list you can copy and paste to, or you can find them in an easy place? So when you want to get the word out about things, if you don't have that, I would recommend whether it be yourselves or obviously delegating to the wonderful members in your club, somebody who maybe wants to tackle that for the year to definitely kind of have that list at the ready. Um, just like Rotary, some of us go to networking events, some of us meet one-on-one with potential members. Building connections is really important. And so, when you make this media list or you have a list of contacts, it's really great to just reach out or have, whether it's you or your public image chairs, and just say, who you are, kind of give them a little background on your club, try to make that personal connection. And the bonus tip that I give is it's also nice if you can remember. I know we have 1,000 things going on, and obviously there's a lot on your plates, but if it's the holiday season, if you happen to know it's someone's birthday, if you know that much about a local journalist or whatnot, it always doesn't hurt to reach out, even when you don't need something. People like that, obviously. So that's a recommendation that I have. We'll move on to press releases next. So sending clear press releases is really important in today's media landscape, where a lot of times, a lot of these newspapers, TV stations are short-staffed. They don't really have a lot of free time. You hope they'll come and do an original piece on your club, but sometimes they don't really have the time for that. So keeping press releases in the mix, but keeping them short and simple. They always joke, and used to think it was the New York Times that used to say all the news that's fit to print. I would my sweet spot is to try to keep them under 500 words, but short and simple. Make sure the 5 Ws, the who, what, when, where, and why, is addressed in it. Pictures are great, photographs. We have smartphones today. You don't necessarily need a fancy Nikon camera. In either case, providing images of events is really great. And as my bonus tip states, it's okay if no one's Ernest Hemingway, right? You don't need to have someone who's a dedicated writer or talented in that respect. Sometimes local editors, especially at the community papers, if you just send in a basic little blurb, just some basic details and some photographs and identify who's in the pictures, they'll just take that and they can mold it together for you or put it into the paper. So you don't necessarily need to have someone with that skill set within your club, although it helps to kind of get your message out.
Joe, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Joe, when you were at your Liberty newspaper, how many press releases would you get approximately a week? Would you get so many? How did you determine which ones to follow up on?
Sure. We got a mix. I mean, to answer your question, lots, right? We get lots of press releases, but I think for us, we tried to get to everything eventually. What normally would happen at the paper I was at is we would vet stuff. So obviously we wouldn't really publish anything that was advertorial because we had an advertising department. So that's another little quick thing is, Newspapers have advertising departments. If you're simply just saying join Rotary or whatnot, that's probably not something they're going to publish. But if you do a cleanup in your village or town and clean up like giant field of garbage or whatnot, or do something impactful in your community, your local Rotaract club's doing a big project, that stuff will get covered usually by local smaller papers. I know the big media, it's kind of tough today, but if you can find your community newspapers, typically they would vet it. If it was good, they'd print it out. It goes on a table, and it wouldn't necessarily get in the next day or the next issue, but they would kind of fit it in when they had the chance. So that's always a good indication. So yeah. So for social media, this kind of touches on a few different areas, not just um, with kind of your visibility in terms of a press release or whatnot, but just keeping kind of things engaging on your social media is great for visibility. So I think Lizzie mentioned this before, right? Like the meeting recaps are okay. It's not, hey, we met on Thursday and we had so and so as a guest speaker. Like those photos are all right. Previewing meetings every once in a while, but it's good to not make that kind of be your entire social media profile. Show photos, like I said, the picture being worth 1,000 words. If you had a cleanup, if you had a volunteer project, someone can just take some photos with their smartphone that, you can put 10 of them up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, to show people what's going on. It's always really great. Sometimes
Joe, when you were a reporter and editor, if someone sent you a press release, would you like do your own little research real quick and like look them up online? Is it good to have this active presence and updated visibility online because people might look you up like that in the media?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways with that. I mean, one, sometimes we would do some deeper vetting on stuff, but sometimes we're all human. We make kind of like some mistakes. So like you might send a press release and you might have a really great photograph, and maybe you didn't identify who's in a picture. So then the media might go to your social media, and it's good when you're also sending out these releases to put some info on your social media. Or maybe they want to include something more about your club. So having an active and updated page where there's different details is good. It's also where journalists find stories. So emails are great, phone calls are nice. Although I will say, if you call a newsroom on the phone quite frequently, they might not like that too much. Lizzie can attest to that, even though she's in sales.
We didn't have caller ID at the newspaper.
Yeah. No, you get some great phone calls. I remember a lady was very upset with me once because I misidentified a bird in a photo caption, but that's another story. But as far as social media goes, a lot of times putting stuff out there, if you tag news outlets and journalists, they'll see stuff there, especially too. If you have younger reporters, they might be, online looking for stories, and they see that you guys are having this big fundraiser because you put a flyer on your page. These are different things that are really helpful. Hashtags are also good. If you can find, I talked about this recently at our district's public image committee, where we talked about how the new algorithms with social media, it's more interest focused now as opposed to back in the day where it was kind of like you only saw what or like people you knew, and kind of today it's like, it could be, hey, Lizzie likes gardening. So, with her posts and interacting in it. So any hashtags of things you can put that go along with your story, whether it be service or, lake cleanup or different sort of things, or regional even, like, Syracuse, or, clean Syracuse or beautify Syracuse or just something like that. Those are different things that can also help with social media visibility. So sort of what we talked about, sort of the inviting reporters to events, right? Whether you call, email, send a message on social media. Obviously, if you want to try to get that coverage, you need to know what's happening. So that's always good. But I always like to personalize the invites. This happens a lot with pitching too. Like a lot of these journalists get a lot of like those just automated sort of emails where people are kind of sending stuff to like 60 different people, and it's not very personal. Taking a few extra seconds to personalize the invite, say, hey, Jim at the, Oneana Daily Star, can you please consider covering this event. It's going to be a great community event and that kind of thing. You keep it brief, but also just personalizing, taking those couple of details. Or, hey, I really liked your story this past week about the local town board meeting or whatnot. We have this interesting event coming up. Anything you can do to personalize messages. I think it's even statistically proven that that has much better success. Sharing personal stories is also really important. Service is obviously a very big thing and a priority, and it's why a lot of us got into Rotary, but all of us have a different Rotary story. And this is something they really touched on recently at the Zone 2832 training that they had. I think it was within the last month, where they were having, like, they asked different people, like, what was your why in Rotary? Why did you join it? And sometimes, from a not just a this isn't necessarily something to get news coverage, but something to just have content in your newsletters, your website, your social media. If they can look at, I'll use my buddy Lisa over in Rochester as an example. If she tells her story and why she's involved in Rotary and some of the things she's passionate about, there might be other people in the community that follow your social media and see that and say, you know what, I have a lot of similar values, or that makes a lot of sense to me. That's interesting to me. So definitely, that kind of draws people in. And if you can see yourself in an organization, that's a really big recruiting tool. And then when you're talking to people, though, I always like to say ask their permission first. Like, it's one thing to have a conversation. Like, if I were to, once again, I'm just going to keep picking on Lisa because she's a good buddy, but like, she was in the Orb Challenge at the Zone event, right? So like, for me, if I was having a conversation for her about why she joined Rotary, I would want to give her the heads up that I'm going to post this on the internet, that, hey, I'm going to share your Rotary story. Don't just do it, because that might get you some upset words from members who maybe are a little more private. But so definitely do that. And then just a bonus tip for if there are human interest stories about your club that you do pitch to media, sometimes offering an exclusive to outlets or whatnot before you send out a press release or something like that is a good way to generate interest, or kind of get them to be like, oh, that's great that you're coming to me first. So, maybe they'll be more apt to run it. And like I said, it takes time, right? So when we offer you these tips, and you get off this call and you rush to make your media list if you haven't already, and to contact all these wonderful journalists, know that it doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time to build relationships. You might not get responses the first couple times. So I always say to be respectfully persistent, um, or persistently patient, whichever way you kind of want to take it. But it's very just good to just, don't send them 92 emails in a week, but just, every, couple of weeks or whatnot, check in and just offer that. So take time.
Joe, I want to follow up. We have the Albany Times Union and the Schenectady Gazette, which are larger newspapers that have a lot of different reporters covering a lot of different things. How do you develop a who do you send a press release to? I always find that a challenge.
Yeah, I would say so. If Schenectady Gazette, Miles Reed is the editor, at least he was as of a couple of years ago. Nice guy. I met him at the state journalism conference. I would start with either your managing editors or your news editor, because a lot of times those people are not, obviously at very small outlets, they're writing a lot of stories, but generally speaking, those are the people that are more likely to be sitting behind a desk, and they've got meetings, but they're kind of managing those emails. They're not the reporters that are kind of, I mean, it's good to build relationships with those reporters, because oftentimes at team meetings, they're asking to pitch stories like, does anyone know what's going on this week, or what might be a good story? So it is still good to build those relationships. But when you have like a general press release, start with your news editor and your managing editor, because those are the ones that are getting those emails and kind of vetting through that stuff. Times Union, they're a very good paper as well. You'll probably find it a little bit harder to get stuff published in the larger the paper, just because between their audience base, some of the national coverage they mix in, they don't seem to have as much focus on the on some of these small, like, local organization things. But I would say for those types of things, try to send your home run story, which by that I mean You know, a lot of clubs here tend to have their couple signature events a year or signature fundraiser or signature service project. Like maybe save that for those larger ones. But you're really going to find the most success with, I think the Gazette's big, but they're a small enough one where I think you'd still find more success than say that. Still send it to both, but just I'm just trying to, you know, keep your expectations to be a little bit more realistic as far
That's
as.
very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
I would add,
if I
I
could
would-
just mention,
oh.
I'd like people to put their questions in chat, please.
And I would just add to that answer too, Joe. I know for us on Syracuse.com, when you're reading an article that was written by one of our local reporters, their name and contact info is right there on the article. So if you, go over to the business news channel for business, a business news topic, you can see the person who's covering that beat by who writes all the articles. So that can also help you if you want to get right to that reporter. But like Joe said, trying to get to the editors is a great one. And I can also share if you're in the Syracuse area and you want to be on Syracuse.com, the general inbox is citynews@Syracuse.com. Send to citynews@Syracuse.com, and that goes to the main editors.
And of course, Lizzie and I are going to take more questions at the end. What I
Yes.
am going to do now before I transition it back to her is I'm putting this link in the chat. I recently wrote a story for our CNY Rotary news page, just about getting visible. Talked a lot of the same things I discussed here, but I'm sharing that because we do have friends on from 7120 who might not be on the CNY Rotary page that frequently. So feel free to take that article link and look at it. Also, I'm pretty accessible, so even after this, news@cnyrotary.org is my email. While I try to keep it to CNY Rotary stuff, if you're from out of the district, if you want to reach out, just share your contact info there. Please state that you're with 7120, and I can email you on my personal account or something. If you have questions, I'm happy to be a resource as well.
Thank you, Joe. All right, so we're giving you, oops, I skipped ahead. Giving you lots of branding information and visibility information, but I want to give you some action items to take home with you today. So you know what to do with all of this. And why do I need to know the colors? What am I going to do with them? Why do I need my logo? What am I going to do with it? Here's what you're going to do. So your public image checklist, it's about being consistent, being on at least Facebook. Consider being on Instagram as well. It's a little bit younger audience, and it's more image focused. So you want to have good pictures if you're going to be on Instagram, good pictures and videos. Posting regularly 2 to 3 times a week is great. If you can get 1 post a week, if that's what your bandwidth is, as long as you can stick with it, that's great. It's really helpful if you can get your own members to like and share your posts. The more engagement the posts get, the more likely they might end up in the news feeds of other people. And certainly when you're doing posts, tag any partners. So if you're, partnering with the United Way on a project, tag the United Way's page and you'll reach more people who follow them as well. It'll just increase your network there. And another tip, and we do this a lot here with my club. I'm sure most communities have those Facebook groups, right? Like we have a couple here in Baldwinsville. There's Living in Baldwinsville. There's Baldwinsville Connections. There's, you're from Baldwinsville if. So those community groups are a great place to share our community news. As Joe touched on before, you want a good mix. If all you ever post is once a week, this is our meeting, you can come. People are not going to engage with that. People are going to get bored with it very quickly. So you want to always be posting a mix of things. And that doesn't mean you have to come up with it all yourself. You can share from other Rotary pages, from your district's page, from RI's page. There's a page for End Polio. So there's resources out there to help you with generating content. And Joe has an article on that on the CNY News Network too. But here's some examples. Here we've got announcing an event. Here's a wrap up of a fun thing. And here's an informational thing. So you want to balance that invitations, call to action with education and just fun stuff. Just want to share your contacts here. Joe shared news@cmyrotary.org. You also have in 7120, your public image chair is Linda Cole. And certainly, as we've done in other areas of PELS, you are always welcome to reach out, even if it's in a different district than you. We're all here to help each other. All right. I feel like my slides are messed up, guys. Sorry if I'm a little off with my with my script here. I think they're got out of order somehow. But here's some more things to think about for the coming year. You want to make sure that your website, as a club, your website should speak to non-members. So your district website speaks to you as a member, because that's what the district is for. We're here to support you as an existing member and club. But your website should speak to someone who doesn't yet know about you. So make sure you don't use acronyms or things they won't understand, and that you make things clear and accessible for someone who doesn't know the Rotary lingo yet. Try and limit things that are going to expire quickly on your website. You really want your website to be evergreen to minimize how much work it is. Use your social media for the timely, quick, deadline specific, date specific stuff. And use your website as like a home for the basic information. That's a great way to kind of balance how much time and effort it takes to do both things. Make sure your website has a space for someone to reach out if they want to join your club. And check in on your website at least once a month, just to give it a look-see, see if anything needs updating. And of course, make sure everything is properly branded. See, I knew they were out of order. I think we missed a few in there. Don't you think, Joe?
Yeah, the only big takeaway I had for, I would say, is definitely on social media post. Like Lizzie said, 2 to 3 times a week. I also forgot to mention with social media too, like you don't always have to publish just Rotary-based events in your social media. Like if there's 3 Rotary people, like I'll pick on someone else. I'll pick on my new friend Phil Kellerman. So Phil's like, hey, a couple of my Rotary guys, we're gonna go to this, the local town that we live in. They have a big, festival or whatever. We're all gonna go together with our Rotary gear on to have a nice time or whatever. Take a picture there, put that on your social media, because then you're also showing that, that you guys have this fellowship component to Rotary, which a lot of people seek in today's world. And it's a great thing about it. And then my other thing is just make a media connection. So if you don't have one already, just try to reach out to your local media folks and see if you can build, 1 to 2 new contacts or whatnot in the year going forward.
Yes, and thank you. We did get off track with our slides here, and we skipped over some pretty important ones. I'm just going to go real quickly, but remember, we're going to post these slides on the website right on the homepage for you to download. So you'll have this checklist to take with you. I want to save time for questions, but these are the goals that we think clubs should consider setting for themselves. And the first is having a public image chair. You need someone who's dedicated to doing this work, preferably somebody who has some skills and experience, because then it's easier for them. There are great resources in the Learning Center about public image. So if you don't have someone who's just a natural marketer, they can go in and learn these things right in the Learning Center at Rotary.org. We want you to update your logos everywhere. Check your business cards, check your flyers. If you keep using the same flyer year after year, it's going to need updating. Check your website, check your socials, and make sure you've got that correct logo on there. Consider the signage that you have out in your community. Our old wheel was a round sign. The current sign you should be using is going to be square rectangular, because we want that master brand logo on there. And you can get signs similar to this one from, say, like Russell Hampton. I'm not plugging them, but they do offer a really nice sign. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's a beautiful sign. You can get your customized master brand logo on here. And I recommend putting your club's website on here, since some of us change up our meeting times pretty regularly these days.
With a QR code.
Yeah, QR code would be great. Again, we talked about the website, so I think we're back on track here. All right, so we picked up the things we missed, but this is your checklist for goals for the next year. And as Joe said, make sure you try and make a new media connection. It could really be beneficial to you. All right, I know we got some questions in the chat, so let's get to them.
Gotcha. So one of the questions is, Lizzie, you had talked about purchasing a font, Rotary font to use in other things. Who do we purchase it from and how?
That's a great question. I don't actually know the answer offhand. It was gifted to me by a mentor. And believe it or not, I'm nerdy enough that you can give me a font for Christmas and I will love it. But I think if you just Google Frutiger font, you'll see like a font resource that comes up that you can buy from. Just, double check that it's secure and all of that.
What's
But
the
it
name
was
of the-
just one of three that needed to be purchased. Is that correct, Lizzie?
Yeah, Frutiger is the only one that's kind of an exclusive type of font. Open
Say
Sans. is
say the
very
name one more
common.
time.
Or can you put it in chat?
Frutiger. Yeah.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
then-
and it'll be on the slides when we share them too, of course.
Okay.
Perfect. And another question is, are you familiar with the concept of loading our brand materials into Canva?
I am. That could be a whole nother webinar for us, but
Okay.
Canva, yeah, Canva gives you the
Let's do
ability.
it.
Canva gives you the ability to set up your brand kit where you can put
Okay.
in your colors, your logos, your fonts, your images, your videos, all of that. And then they're kind of separate from all the other things you can do in Canva, and just makes it really easy to jump right into them. And you can even have multiple brand kits. So if you want to do one for your business, for your Rotary, I have, because I work in advertising, so I have 2 for clients, and then I have my Rotary one. And I pretty much live in the Rotary brand kit, and I only use Rotary colors and fonts and everything that I do.
Perfect.
So will we have a separate webinar about that or
We can
not
work on that.
necessarily?
Yeah, I would love to lead something like that.
I'm in.
I do have to tell you, it's a little taboo because Rotary International does not support the use of Canva.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it also gives you powers for evil. That's how
Love
you can use Canva to totally obliterate the logo. And so
Yeah.
you can only use I only teach you Canva if you're going to use it for good.
Yeah,
Okay. We promise.
Okay.
perfect.
Keep me on track, Lisa.
Yes, I will. Ralph, I know you mentioned earlier before everybody was on the call that last week's Pre-PELS webinar recording is on the Pre-PELS website, but I don't see it, and neither does anybody else. So
I had gotten an email from Dave that it was posted.
okay,
Now, what had happened was the actual recording from last week didn't happen. However, the recording from the year before, which was the exact same presentation, is posted.
okay.
So the information, all the information that was disseminated is posted.
But not under the February 11th from this
No,
year.
it should be under that. If you go to
If it's not there, we'll get it updated when we
Yeah.
post tonight.
Okay, because
should
it's
go
not
to the
there.
Rotary
It
Empire
is there.
MD PELS. It's there.
Under Pre-PELS session, Pre-PELS details.
Correct.
Okay, I'm looking at it, but don't see it. Okay.
Hit refresh.
I did. So going on with questions, we can talk about this offline. So another comment is, so the other day I Googled an image of a Rotary birthday cake and used it. Is that a potential copyright infringement?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Just take a random image off of Google. You're always at risk of that. There are certainly plenty of images on the internet, and this would again be a more advanced course in determining if an image is available for public or commercial use, or if it just requires that you give it credit and then you can use it. There are different settings applied to images. And unless you know how to check that and know for sure, you are at risk of copyright infringement. And I see there's a question attached to that one, Lisa. Are hashtags copyrighted? No, hashtags are a weird, these, you can just make up anything and turn it into a I can do hashtag Lizzie's at PELS right now. Like that could just be a thing. Like, so anyone can make up anything for a hashtag, but the key is to pick hashtags that really tie into, what the post is about, so that when people search related topics, you'll come up.
Gotcha.
Pick out those keywords and make them into hashtags.
Right. Gotcha. And then I think the final question is there a tool that Rotarians can use to make sure the images that we use are legal without getting into trouble with copyright?
Yeah, I mean, downloading them from the brand center, number one.
Okay.
Taking your own photos, number two. Using them from a source like Canva where you've paid or you have access to their free images. Those are all, you can subscribe. It's very expensive, but you can use images from things like Getty Images. There's services out there for images. There is a settings that you can do. Again, I think it's a little beyond what I can cover with you right here, right now, but there are some settings you can adjust in your Google search to find out if they're available for Creative Commons licenses. And a lot of times that just means you have to give credit to the website you got it from. But there is a way to modify your searches to kind of narrow it down. I
Sounds
did
like-
see one question that was tucked in there. I don't know if you saw it, Lisa, but asking about the Pantone colors.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. I don't think it has the Pantone, but it does give you the PMS code, the CMYK code, the hex code, and the RGB code. So there's a lot of different color formats you need depending on where it's being posted. And they give you every version for each Rotary color right in the brand center. And it's the hex code you're going to want for your setting up your Canva colors.
Great. If
think that's
there-
it.
We've gotten all the questions. That's wonderful. I really want to thank both Lizzie and Joe. Always, I mean, Lizzie, you are the star as far as Brand Central goes. Joe, you're a climbing star. So, you
Joe
know,
is our rising star for sure. We're very lucky to have
and
him.
you're working with a great person. Before we completely leave the Zoom, I'd like to just turn it back over to Bob for any last comments.
Thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed the session, and thank you, Joe and Lizzie, for leading us through this important information. And we'll see you next week for the next one.
See you next Thursday.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.